Ah, the Zelda series. I still remember playing Ocarina of Time for the first time and being absolutely blown away with how open a video game could truly be. It was the first time I really became interested in gaming, and it really showed me the possibilities of where video games could be going. Fast forward 15 years from when I first played the game, and I am still in love with the world of Hyrule and the possibilities of what could come next. On June 10th, 2014, we got our first look at the latest Zelda game.
This is the new world of Zelda. It's quite a vast world, isn't it?
And even though it was just a few short scenes, Zelda fans around the world could tell you the hype was so real. After a few more looks at the game, and many release date delays, we finally were able to explore the world of Hyrule once again, when Breath of the Wild was released this week 2 years ago in 2017. So, without further ado, let's go back 100 years and revisit The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild starts you off in a completely distorted Hyrule in ruin. After falling in battle 100 years ago, Link awakens in the Shrine of Resurrection, destined to save the world from complete destruction by the Calamity Ganon. You begin with the absolute bare minimum, and as you adventure a vast landscape, collecting items, doing side quests, and bringing back Hyrule to its former glory, you truly feel a sense of progression in not only the world, but your own personal journey. Because of Link's time in the shrine, he has forgotten almost everything that happened 100 years ago. So, along with your daunting task of protecting the world, you also discover your own past along the way. Now, because I have seen many videos talk about the same exact things that they enjoy about the game, I'm going to go ahead and mention some of the lesser talked about parts of the game that I absolutely love. First off, although this is one of the biggest changes from past Zelda games, and I know that some people will disagree on this particular topic, but I love the absence of having a musical theme while adventuring the overworld. It just fits so well with what the game is trying to portray. A vast, ruined kingdom, and having short bursts of piano notes every once in a while makes it seem like there's a small gleam of hope. That hope being Link. There are many different cities and villages you can discover during the game, and it really hits home when the themes of these places build up and let you know that you have arrived at a safe place and can finally relax. I will never forget the first time I traveled to Zora's domain, and when the soundtrack came in once I had arrived, I knew I could finally take a deep breath after a long journey. Another one of these musical moments was when I was wandering with a friend, and suddenly we hear a theme we had not heard before. When we stopped and took a look around the landscape, we noticed that flying under the bridge we were traveling on was a dragon. These are the kind of moments that happen so organically that I have never experienced in any other game. The next point that I loved, and I haven't heard enough people talk about, is the amount of activities there are in the world. One thing that my friends and I would always joke about while playing is that we felt like we never got anything done. Because every time you would head towards something that looked interesting, there was always something that distracted us and took us in a whole new direction. There are 120 shrines in the game that basically act as mini dungeons and puzzles, and sometimes, while we are heading towards one, the next thing you know, we see a tower in the distance that we just had to go check out first. On our way to the tower, we would find a ravine filled with enemies and change our direction there. You could see how this pattern might make us seem not as productive, but that's just a sign of a perfect open world. You should feel like there is something new at every corner that you just have to discover. The final thing that I will mention out of the many, many things that I love about this game is the true feeling of control. Once you have left the Great Plateau, which is by far the best tutorial I have ever played, you can do whatever you please. And when I say that, I mean it. If you wanted, you could head straight to the final boss right after leaving the start of the game. But let me wish you good luck on actually defeating it that early on. There is not a moment in this game where you feel pressured to do anything. You are able to do whatever you like, with no restrictions. When I played the game, I wanted the full experience, which includes completing all of the shrines, all of the divine beasts, as many side quests as I found interesting, which was most, returning all of my memories, and then finally facing off against Ganon. The game lets you do things at whatever pace you feel is right. Now, I have never played a perfect game, so of course, I need to talk about some of the things that bogged down the experience for me. This is just my opinion, so don't kill me. First thing was one of the most heartbreaking parts of the game, and yet it still does a fine job, but I know with proper attention, it could have been much better. That is the Divine Beasts, which act as the main dungeons of the game. My favorite part about Zelda games is the atmosphere around each dungeon. In Ocarina of Time, the Forest Dungeon is a great example of this, because it really sets a creepy tone all throughout. While in the Death Mountain Fire Dungeon, you can really feel the heat, and it actually feels like you're in a volcano. I wish that the dungeons in Breath of the Wild weren't so copy and paste. It would have been really cool if the design of the dungeons actually matched its location. The closest that a Divine Beast got to this was in the Rito Dungeon, because it felt really cool to be flying high above the world. It is the same way with the shrines, but I understand that a bit more because there's 120 of them. And finally, this is something that I was okay with, but I felt like there could have been so much more focus on it, and that is the story. Most of the story comes in through remembering your past, but it felt like there wasn't much story involving the present. I get both sides of this argument. First of all, to defend it, the cutscenes of your past are great, with fully voiced dialogue, which is a first for Zelda, not including the CDI games.
I won!
Also, the fact that there isn't a big focus on the present story gives you an opportunity for control, and it definitely helps with taking on the game at your own pace. But it is something most Zelda fans aren't used to. The story is best told through the side quests and talking to villagers, but I would have felt more connected to the story if it was happening in real time. But it's really a mixed bag here. There are a few nitpicky things I have, like how frustrating the rain can be, but I can deal with that stuff. Alright guys, the final verdict. Although the dungeons aren't as memorable as previous Zelda titles, and there is a lack of presence in the story, it's so easy to get lost in this game. And after dedicating many hours to the game, completing everything I wanted to, I'm going to give Zelda Breath of the Wild an 8.5 out of 10. Guys, what did you think of Breath of the Wild? Did I miss anything you wanted to add? More importantly, I would love to hear a story about an experience you had in the game that you hadn't had in any others. Thanks for watching, subscribe for a new review every Saturday, and I will see you next week.